Hello, my friendos. How is everybody tonight? I'm tired, but I figured a little bit of bedtime reading will work out for everybody here. We'll see how it goes. We've got a little bit of Grimm's fairy tales tonight. I had Salty choose one before we got started, so we have that queued up. Maybe we'll read 2, maybe 3, but we're not going to go too long. Half an hour or something. I need my beauty sleep because Lord knows you don't get this sexy on no sleep. The Goose Girl by the Brothers Grimm. There was once upon a time an old queen whose husband had been dead for many years, and she had a beautiful daughter. When the princess grew up, she was betrothed to a prince who lived very far away. When the time came for her to be married and she had to journey forth into the distant kingdom, the aged queen packed up for her many costly vessels of silver and gold, and trinkets also of gold and silver, and cups and jewels. In short, everything which appertained to a royal dowry, for she loved her child with all her heart. She likewise sent a maid in waiting, who was to ride with her and hand her over to the bridegroom. Each had a horse for the journey, but the horse of the king's daughter was called Falada and could speak. So the hour of parting had come. The aged mother went into her bedroom, took a small knife, and cut her finger with it until it bled. She then held a white handkerchief to it and let 3 drops of blood fall. She gave the handkerchief to her daughter and said, "Dear child, preserve this carefully. It will be of service to you on your way." So they took a sorrowful leave of each other. The princess put the piece of cloth in her bosom, mounted her horse, and went away with her bridegroom. After she had ridden for a while, she felt a burning thirst and said to her waiting maid, "Dismount and take my cup, which you have brought with you, and get me some water for the stream, for I should like to drink." "If you are thirsty," said the waiting maid, "get off your horse yourself and lie down and drink out of the water. I don't choose to be your servant." So in her great thirst, the princess alighted, bent down over the water in the stream and drank, and was not allowed to drink out of the golden cup. Then she said, "Ah, heaven!" And the 3 drops of blood answered, "If thy mother only knew, 'twould surely break her heart in 2. But the king's daughter was humble, said nothing, and mounted her horse again. She rode some miles further, and the day was warm. The sun scorched her, and she was thirsty once more. When they came to a stream of water, she cried again for her waiting maid, "Dismount and give me some water in my golden cup," for she had long ago forgotten the girl's ill words. But the waiting maid still said more haughtily, "If you wish to drink, drink as you can. I don't choose to be your maid." Then in great thirst, the king's daughter alighted, bent over the flowing stream, wept, and said, "Ah, heaven!" And the drops of blood again replied, "If thy mother only knew, 'twould surely break their heart in 2. As she was thus drinking and leaning over the stream, the handkerchief with the 3 drops of blood fell out of her bosom and floated away with the water without her observing it, so great was her trouble. The waiting maid, however, had seen it, and she rejoiced to think that she had now power over the bride. For since the princess had lost the drops of blood, she had become weak, powerless. For now, when she wanted to mount her horse again, the one that was called Falada, the waiting maid said, Falada is more suitable for me, and my nag will do for you. And the princess had to be content with that. Then the young maid, with many hard words, bade the princess exchange her royal apparel for her shabby clothes, and at length she was compelled to swear by the clear sky above her that she would not say one word of this to anyone at the royal court. And if she had not taken this oath, she would have been killed on the spot. But Falada saw all this and observed it well. The waiting maid now mounted Falada, and the true bride had the bad horse. And thus they traveled onward until they entered the royal palace. There were great rejoicings over her arrival, and the prince sprang forth to meet her, lifted the waiting maid from her horse, and thought she was his bride. She was conducted upstairs, but the real princess was left standing below. Then the old king looked out the window and saw her standing in the courtyard, and how dainty and delicate and beautiful she was. He instantly went to the royal apartment and asked the bride about the girl she had with her, who was standing below in the courtyard, and who she was. I picked her up on the way from a companion. Give the girl something to work at, so that she may not stand idle. But the old king had no work for her, and knew of none, so he said, I have a little boy who tends geese. She may help him. The boy was named Conrad, and the true bride had to help him tend the geese. Soon after, the false bride said to the king, Dearest husband, I beg you to do me a favor. He answered, I will do so most willingly. Send for the butcher, and have the head of the horse on which I rode here. Cut it off, for it vexed me on the way. In reality, she was afraid that the horse might tell her how badly she had behaved to the king's daughter. Then she succeeded in making the king promise that it should be done, and the faithful Falada was to die. This came to the ears of the real princess, and she secretly promised the butcher a piece of gold if he would perform a small service for her. There was a great dark-looking gateway in town, through which morning and evening she had to pass with the geese. Would he be so good as to nail up Falada's head on it, so that she could see him again? The butcher promised to do that, and cut off the head and nailed it fast beneath the dark gateway. Early in the morning, when Conrad drove out the flock beneath the gateway, she said in passing, Alas, Falada, hanging in there. The head answered, Alas, young queen, how ill you fare. If this is your tender mother knew, her heart would surely break in two. Then they went further out of the town and drove their geese into the country. And when they had come to the meadow, she sat down and unbound her hair, which was like pure gold. Conrad saw it and delighted in its brightness, and wanted to pluck out a few hairs. Then she said, Blow, blow, thou gentle wind, I say, blow Conrad's little hat away, and make him chase it here and there, until I've braided up all my hair, and bound it up again. And there came such a violent wind that it blew Conrad's hat far away and across the country, and he was forced to run after it. Hey, Matt. Hey, Salty. It's good to see you, baby. When he came back, she had finished combing her hair and was putting it up again, and he could not get any of it. Then Conrad was angry and would not speak to her. And thus they watched the geese until evening, and then they went home. Oh, there's the little boy right there. Check him out. And he's got these little hissing chickens. They're hissy chickens. And she's got wooden shoes and a switch. The next day, when they were driving the geese out through the dark gateway, the maid said, Alas, Falada, hanging there. Falada answered, Alas, young queen, how ill you fare. If your tender mother knew, her heart would surely break in two. She sat down again in the field and began to comb out her hair. Conrad ran and tried to clutch it, so she said in haste, "Blow, blow, thou gentle wind, I say, blow Conrad's little hat away, and make him chase it here and there, until I've braided up all my hair and bound it up again." Then the wind blew and blew his little hat off his head and far away, and Conrad was forced to run after it. When he came back, her hair had been put up for a long time, and he could get none of it. So they looked after the geese till evening came. But in the evening, after they got home, Conrad went to the old king and said, "I won't tend geese with that girl any longer." "Why not?" inquired the old king. "Oh, because she vexes me the whole day long." Then the old king commanded him to relate what she did to him. "In the morning, when we pass beneath the dark gateway with the flock, there's a sorry horse's head on the wall. And she says to it, 'Alas, Falada, hanging there.' And the head replies, 'Alas, young queen, how ill you fare. If your tender mother knew, her heart would surely break in two.'" And Conrad went on to relate what happened in the goose pasture and how he there had to chase his hat. The old king commanded him to drive the flock out again the next day, and as soon as the morning came, he placed himself behind the dark gateway and heard how the maiden spoke to the head of Falada. Then he went into the country and hid himself in the thicket in the meadow. There he soon saw with his own eyes the goose girl and the goose boy bringing their flock. And after a while, she sat down and unplaited her hair, which shone with radiance. And soon she said, "Blow, blow, thou gentle wind, I say, blow Conrad's little hat away, and make him chase it here and there, until I've braided up all my hair and bound it up again." Then a blast of wind came and carried off Conrad's hat, so that he had to run far away, while the maiden quietly went on combing and plaiting her hair, all of which the king observed, because he was a creeper. Then, quite unseen, he went away, and when the goose girl came home in the evening, he called her aside and asked why she did all these things. I may not tell you that, and I dare not limit my sorrows to any human being, for I have sworn not to do so by the heaven which is above me. If I had not done that, I should have lost my life. He urged her and left her no peace, but he could draw nothing from her. Then said he, "If you'll not tell me anything, tell your sorrows to the iron stove there." Then she creeped into the iron stove, and began to weep and lament, and emptied her whole heart. "Here I am deserted by the whole world, and yet I am a king's daughter, and a false waiting maid has by force brought me to such pass, that I have been compelled to put off my royal apparel, and she takes my place with my bridegroom, and I have to do the mean work of a goose girl. If my mother only knew, 'twould surely break her heart in two." The old king was standing outside by the pipe of the stove and was listening to what she said and heard it. Then he came back in again and bade her come out of the stove, and royal garments were placed on her, and it was marvelous how beautiful she was. The old king called his son and revealed to him that he had gotten the false bride, who was only a waiting maid, but that the true one was standing here as the goose girl. The young king rejoiced with all his heart when he saw her beauty and youth, and a great feast was made ready, which all the people and all the good friends were invited. At the head of the table sat the bridegroom with the king's daughter at one side of him, and the waiting maid on the other. But the waiting maid was blinded and did not recognize the princess in her dazzling array. When they had eaten and drunk and were merry, the old king asked the waiting maid as a riddle, what person deserved who had behaved in such a way to her master, and in some time related the whole story, and asked that sentence such one merited. I do bedtime stories, Pelin, but no OnlyFans. That's super secret OnlyFans. I know. When the false bride said she deserves no better fate than to be put in a barrel, which is studded on the inside with pointed nails, and 2 white horses should be harnessed to it and drag her through the streets after another till she's dead. It is you, said the old king, and you have pronounced your own sentence. Thus shall it be done unto you. And when the sentence had been carried out, the young king married the true bride, and both of them reigned over the kingdom in peace and happiness. Salty baby, you chose, I don't think it was as funny as you thought it might be. But it was Grimm. Yeah. Apparently, you just get put in barrels with nails on the inside and you get drug around till you're dead. That's what happens. All right, Salty, choose another one. We've certainly got time for one more. We already read that one. The Goose Girl at the Well, The Shoes That Dance to Pieces, The Nix of the Mill Pond. That one sounds kind of good. The Nix of the Mill Pond. I wonder what a Nix is. The Little House in the Wood. Maid Maleen. Is it natural or is it Maid Maleen? The Hedge King. Oh, I think we read The Hedge King. Sweet Porridge. We read Sweet Porridge and it sucked. The Iron Stove. Clever Hans. The Donkey Cabbages. Salty, pick one, baby. The 3 Luck Children. The Spindle, the Shuttle, and the Needle. The Blue Light. That was one about Kmart. We already read Dr. Know-All. We just read The Goose Girl. The Singing Soaring Lark. Yorinda and Yoringel. That's a short one. You thinking about it? We read this one. We read Iron John. We did not read Clever Elsie. We read The 6 Swans. The Bremen Town Musicians we have not read. The Blue Light. All right, it's a Blue Light special. All right, if this is bad, then we blame Salty and she has to go to bed. That's how it works. All right, last story for the night. If everybody get in bed, tuck yourself in, get your warm milk. All Salty's fault. Got it. Yep. It happens sometimes, baby. The Blue Light. There was once on a time a soldier who for many years had served the king faithfully. But when war came to end, he could no longer serve because of the many wounds which he had received. The king said to him, "You may return to your home. I need you no longer. You will not receive any more money, for only he receives wages who renders service for me." What a dick. Then the soldier did not know how to earn a living, went away greatly troubled, and walked the whole day until the evening he had entered the forest. I know, right? When darkness came, he saw a light, which he went toward and came to a house wherein lived a witch. "Do give me one night's lodging and a little food to eat and drink," said he to her, "or I shall starve." "Oh ho," she answers, "who gives anything to a runaway soldier? Yet I will be compassionate and take you in, if you will do what I wish." "What do you wish?" said the soldier. "That you should dig around my garden for me tomorrow." The soldier consented, and the next day labored with all his strength, but he could not finish it by the evening. "I see well enough," said the witch, "that you can do no more today, but I'll keep you yet another night in payment in which you must tomorrow chop a load of wood and make it small. The soldier spent a whole day in doing it, and in the evening, the witch proposed that he should stay one more night. Tomorrow, you shall do a very trifling piece of work. Behind my house, there's an old dry well into which my light has fallen. It burns blue and never goes out, and you shall bring it up for me again. Next day, the old woman took him to the well and let him down in a basket. He found the blue light and made her a signal to draw him up. She did draw him up, but when he came near the edge, she stretched down her hand and wanted to take the blue light away from him. No, said he, perceiving her evil intention. I will not give you the light until I'm standing with both feet on the ground. The witch fell into a passion and let him down in the well again and went away. The poor soldier fell without injury on the moist ground, and the blue light went on burning. But of what use was that to him? He saw very well that he could not escape death. He sat for a while very sorrowfully. Then suddenly he felt in his pocket and found his pipe, which was still half full of tobacco. This shall be my last pleasure, thought he, pulled it out, lit it at the blue light, and began to smoke. When the smoke had circled around the cavern, suddenly a little black man stood before him and said, Master, what are your commands? What commands have I to give you? Replied the soldier, quite astonished. I must do everything that you bid me, said the little man. Good, said the soldier. Then, in the first place, help me out of this well. The little man took him by the hand and led him through an underground passage, but the soldier could not forget to take the blue light with him. On the way, the little man showed him treasures hidden there, and the soldier took as much gold as he could carry. When he was above, he said to the little man, Now, go and bind the old witch and carry her before the judge. In a short time, she, with frightful cries, came riding by as swift as the wind on a wild tomcat. Nor was it long after that before the little man reappeared. It's all done, said he, and the witch is already hanging on the gallows. What further commands has my lord? Inquired the little man. At this moment, none, answered the soldier. You may return home, only be at hand immediately, if I summon you. Nothing more is needed that you should light your pipe at the blue light, and I will appear before you at once. Thereupon, he vanished from sight. The soldier returned to town from which he had came. He went to the best inn, ordered himself handsome clothes, and then bade the landlord to furnish a room as magnificent as possible, and his name was Garrett. When it was ready, the soldier had taken possession of it. He summoned the little black man and said, I have served the king faithfully, but he dismisses me and left me to hunger, and now I want to punish him. What am I to do? Said the little man. Late at night, when the king's daughter is in bed, bring her here in her sleep. She shall do the servant's work for me. That could have gone worse. The little man said, That is an easy thing for me to do, but a very dangerous thing for you. For if it is discovered, you will fare ill. When 12 o'clock had struck, the door sprang open and the little man carried in the princess. Aha! Are you here? Cried the soldier. Get to work at once. Fetch the broom and sweep this chamber. When she had done this, he ordered her to come to his chair. Then he stretched out his feet and said, Pull off my boots for me, and made her pick them up again and clean and brighten them. She, however, did everything she was bade, without opposition, silently and with half-shut eyes. When the first cock crowed, the little man carried her back to the royal palace and laid her in bed. The next morning, when the princess arose, she went to her father and told him that she had a very strange dream. I was carried through the streets with the rapidity of lightning, she said, and taken to a soldier's room, and had to wait upon him like a servant, swept his room, cleaned his boots, and did all sorts of menial work. It was only a dream, yet I am just as tired as if I had done everything. It's like sleeping as an adult. You just wake up just as tired as if you didn't sleep. The dream may have been true, said the king. I'll give you a piece of advice. Fill your pocket full of peas, make a small hole in it. And then if you are carried away again, they will fall out and leave a track on the street. They really like this in the Grimm's fairy tales, the whole peas thing. And in the past, they've been eaten by birds. We'll see how it works out this time. But unseen by the king, the little man was standing beside him when he had said that and heard it all. At night, when the sleeping princess is again carried through the streets, some peas certainly did fall out of her pocket, but they made no track, for the crafty little man had just before scattered the peas in every other street. And again, the princess was compelled to do the servant's work until the cock crow. The next morning, the king sent his people out to seek the track. But it was all in vain. For every street, poor children were sitting picking up peas and saying, "It must have rained peas last night." "He must think of something else," said the king. "Keep your shoes on when you go to bed. Before you come back in the place where you are taken, hide one of them there, and I shall soon find it." The little man heard this plot, and at night when the soldier again ordered him to bring the princess, revealed it to him, and told him that he knew of no way to overcome this stratagem, and that if the shoe were found in the soldier's house, it would go badly for him. "Do what I bid you," replied the soldier. And again the third night the princess was obliged to work like a servant. But before she went away, she hid her shoe under the bed. The next morning, the king had the entire town search for his daughter's shoe. It was found at the soldier's, and the soldier himself, who at the entreaty of the little man had gone outside the city gate, was soon brought back and thrown into prison. Dude, we told you that shit wasn't going to work, and you tried it anyway. And why couldn't you even look for the shoe and find a shoe? This is not hard. In his flight, he had forgotten the most valuable things he had, the blue light and the gold, and had only one ducat in his pocket. And now loaded with chains, he was standing at the window of his dungeon when he chanced to see one of his comrades passing by. The soldier tapped the pane of glass. When the man came up, he said, "Be so kind as to fetch the small bundle I have left lying at the inn, and if I will give you this ducat for doing it." The comrade ran thither and brought him what he wanted. As soon as the soldier was gone again, he lit his pipe and summoned the little black man. "Have no fear," said the latter to his master. "Go wherever they take you, and let them do what they will. Only take the blue light with you." The next day the soldier was tried, and though he had done nothing wicked, the judge condemned him to death, and he was led forth to die. He begged a last favor of the king. "What is it?" asked the king. "That I may smoke one more pipe on the way." "You may smoke 3, answered the king, "but do not imagine that I will spare your life." When the soldier pulled out his pipe and lighted it with the blue light, and soon a few wreaths of smoke had ascended, and the little man was there with a small cudgel in his hand, and said, "What does my lord command?" "Strike down to earth that false judge there and his constable, and spare not the king, who has treated me so ill." And the little man fell onto him like lightning, darting this way and that, and whosoever was so as touched by the cudgel fell to the earth and did not venture to stir again. The king was terrified and threw himself on the soldier's mercy and begged merely to be allowed to live. He gave him his own kingdom for his own, and the princess to wife. I'm not so sure about our man's. I don't think he was a good dude, is what I'm saying. Yeah, it was pretty unfulfilling, and I don't think our soldier here was very good. He just abducted princesses when he felt like it. I mean, what are you, Bowser? I don't get it. The Brothers Grimm can be strange. A couple of quick bedtime tales for my friends out there. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to find somebody to raid, and I will be back Tuesday. But before then, maybe Sunday, we've got Tipsy Tales coming up because we have made our first challenge, which is for me to read these after I have been drinking a little bit. I was going to call them drunken tales, but I'm not going to get hammered and read Grimm's fairy tales. I'm just going to be drinking some. So it's not going to be just like tanked tales. It's going to be tipsy tales. Just a few drinks. So let's go look for... Do some of these endings seem a little, I don't know, kill the bad one and give the young one. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, we're going to read Pyro Club, our sister channel. Raid. When you get over there, give them a follow. Follows are free. And tell them hello from Diomedes. I love you all. Be good to each other. And I will see you very soon, no later than next Tuesday, hopefully before then. And we will be doing some tipsy tales. Next week, we're going to finish up The Metamorphosis by Kafka, an uplifting story. And I will see you all then.